What's up, guys? This is Theo here, coming to you live with another coding tutorial. Today we are on CodeCademy episode 6. So we're on Introduction to React.js or ReactJS part 6. So this will be this.props. So we're 74% of the way done. Let's go. Hit continue, and this should load the this.props. Looks like, let me go back. This.props. It says the name of this unit is components interacting. In the last lesson, you learned one way that components can interact. A component can render another component. In this lesson, you will learn another way that components can interact. A component can pass information to another component. Information that gets passed from one component to another is known as props. Click Next to enter props land. Okay, let's move on. Part 2. Every component has something called props. A component's props is an object. It holds information about that component. To see a component's props object, you use the expression this.props. Here's an example of this.props being used inside of a render function. So here it's logging this.props. Most of the information in this.props is pretty useless, but some of it is extremely important. Look at props displayer.js. On line 6, you can see a variable named string props is equal to a stringified version of this.props. On line 11, inject string props. Okay, so we're going to inject string props in between the h2 tags. And then we're going to render it and see what it gives us. I'm guessing it's just going to tell us it has a render function on it and the contents of that, but let's find out. So we're going to render it like we always do, react.dom.render, and then we're going to pass, we're going to pass props displayer. I'm going to close that off. And the second argument, like always, which is going to be evaluated by the virtual DOM, and then append that node, in this case the props displayer, to the DOM. The app, that's the ID, so let's see what we get when we render this out. Check out my props object. So right now it says it's empty. Okay, that's interesting. Despite what you see in the props displayer, props object isn't really empty. It has some properties that JSON stringify can't pick up. But even if you could see those properties, the props object still wouldn't have much of value to show you right now, but it's there. Okay, cool. So let's figure out what it is. You can pass information to a React component. How? By giving that component an attribute. So we have the key and the value, foo and bar. Let's say that you want to pass a component this message. This is some top secret info. Example, message equals this is some top secret info. As you can see, to pass information to a component, you need a name for the information that you want to pass. So key and value. Okay, if you want to pass information that isn't a string, to wrap that information in curly braces. Here's how you pass an array. Okay, so just binding it. In this next example, we pass several pieces of information to greeting. The values that aren't strings are wrapped in curly braces. Okay, inside of the React dom.render call, pass the string hello to the props displayer. Give that string a name of my prop. So looks like inside of here we can say my prop, that's the key, and the value is just hello. So let's try and check it out. Maybe we'll see hello inside of here. My prop, hello. So this is the key and that's the value. Awesome. Okay, so 4. You just passed information to a component's props object. You will often want a component to display the information that you pass. Here's how to make a component display passed in information. Find the component class that is going to receive that information. Include this.props.name of information in that component class's render function return statement. Okay, so let's walk through an example. On line 12, you can see it. You can see a piece of information being passed. To greeting. The information's name is first name. How can you make first name show up on the screen? By including this.props.firstname somewhere in the greeting class's render functions. Greeter class's render functions return statement. On line 6, so we're going to say this. We're grabbing this.props, the object, then we're grabbing that key of first name. And we should run that out. Oh, sorry, let me put hi there. So we want to say hi there, and then see if that works. Hi there. Okay, cool. In the react.dom.render call, change first name's value to a different string. So we'll just change it to my name, Theo. And then let's see if it updated it. Looks like it did. Cool. Let's move on. You've learned how to pass a prop to a component. So there's the key. You also learned how to access a display, how to access and display a passed-in prop. Most common use of props is to pass information to a component from a different component. You haven't done that yet, but it's very similar to what you've seen already. You will pass a prop from one component to another. A curmudgeonly clarification about grammar. You may have noticed some loose usage of words prop and props. Unfortunately, this is pretty inevitable. Props is the name of the object that stores passing information. This props refers to that storage object. At the same time, each piece of passing information is also called props. Your mission is to pass one. For the instructions. Your mission is to pass a prop to greeting component instance from an app component instance. If app is going to pass a prop to greeting, then it follows that app is going to render greeting. Since Since greeting is going to be rendered by another component, that means that greeting needs to use module.exports. Okay, so in greeting.js, delete this statement from line 2. Okay. The bottom of greeting.js, remove the call to ReactDom.render and replace it. So we're going to export this so we can require an app. So we're just exporting greeting, which is this. And then inside of app.js, well, let's see. Let's make sure. I think it's going to complain because I didn't delete. Okay, cool. So app can't pass a prop to greeting until app.js imports the variable greeting. Until then, the character is greeting in app.js might as well be nonsense. Select app.js, create a new line. Are we on app.js? Create a new line under the line var react.dom equals require react. Require the greeting class, so say var greeting equals require. And then remember, we don't need the JS file, but I'll put it on because I like to. Greeting.js. And then, let's see, that should work. Cool. 3, in app.js, add a greeting instance to app's render function. Immediately underneath the H1, so right here, we'll say greeting. Okay, cool. An attribute with a name of name. So we'll say name of name. Attribute's value can be whatever you want. So we'll say Theo. And click run. App will render greeting and pass it a prop. Hi there, Theo. Greeting, name of Theo, because in here we have defined that method. Cool. Let's move on. 6. Awesome. You passed a prop from a component to a different component. Accessed that prop from the receiver component and rendered it. You can do more with props than just display them. You can also use props to make decisions. In the code editor, look at the welcome component class. Okay, so conditional. Let's look at the instructions. Select greeting.js, look in the greetings render function. You can see that greeting now expects 2 props, named and signed in. Notice that this.props.signed in is not located inside a return statement. So look at greeting until you feel like you understand how it works, and then open app.js. Pass greeting a second prop of signed in equals false. Okay. So we will say signed in, and then we'll bind it a boolean of false. And then looks like that should be enough. Okay, let's make sure this runs. Okay, cool. Looks like that worked. How rude. I mean, honestly, in app.js, change the value of signed in to make headline display a friendly greeting again. Okay, so we'll change this to true. Now we should see, looks like we should see, hi there, Theo. Let's make sure this works. Or hi there, Allison. Cool. Let's move on. You can and often will pass functions as props. It is especially common to pass event handler functions. In the next lesson, you will pass an event handler function as a prop. However, you have to define an event handler before you can pass one anywhere. In this lesson, you will define an event handler function. How do you define an event handler in React? You define an event handler as a property on the instructions object. Just like the render function, almost all functions that you define in React will be defined in this way as instruction object properties. Take a look at the code. Take a look in the code editor. An event handler function is defined on line 5 through 9 and then is attached to an event on line 13. So you're just passing in that handler or that function. So like talker.js. Here we have a nice function named talk, alerts 10,000 blobs to your screen. You eventually use talk as an event handler. There's a problem, talk is defined outside of the talker component. That's not how we do things. Rewrite talk so that it is a property of the object passed to React.create class. So I'm guessing we could just do this. This dot talk equals talk. Yeah, I think that's good. Look at example.js if you get stuck. So I guess we could render it in there, but I think it's fine how I have it. Let's just make sure this works. I don't know if it will like that because it wants me to delete it. If not, I'll just throw it inside of Talker. Yeah, it might complain. Let's just see. Kind of curious to see what it'll say. Come on, what do you do now? Alright, let me refresh because this is taking too long. And let's try and run this again. We'll just say this dot talk equals talk. And then let me run it again. See if this will work this time for us. This dot talk equals talk. No, it doesn't like that. Okay, cool. I'll just put it. I will put this function. Oh, it looks like it's already inside there now. So, or what the heck did I do? Talker.js, this dot talk equals talk, yeah. Alright, gotta put it inside of here. Example.js. Handle event function, so we'll change this out. So it's gonna be talk, and talk will be a function. And then put a comma at the end of there. This should not work. Change to make it a key that's a function. See if this runs for us. Hopefully it will. Cool. So good, you've defined a new function on the talker component class. Now you're ready to pass that function to another component. Select talker.js. You want to pass talk from here to button. If you want to pass any prop to button, that means that you need to give button an attribute. Let's start there inside of talker. So render function, give button the following attribute, foo bar. Okay, foo, and then we'll say bar. During the next 2 checkpoints, you replace those values with the values that you need. Keep them as foo and bar for now. Looks like we're just going to place it with on click and then talk. So let's see if that gives us the green light. Should, cool. And then 2 is your goal is to pass talk from talker to button. What prop name should you choose? It doesn't really matter. Prop attributes will work. Since you're going to pass a function named talk, you might as well use talk as your name. Inside of the render function, change your attribute name foo to talk. Okay. And then looks like we will just change what should your prop value be? Should be information that you want to pass. In this case, you want to pass the talk function inside of the renders. Change your attributes value talk. Okay, and this dot talk. So it looks like we will change this to this dot talk. Let me make sure. Let me go back. Okay, looks like I think that should work. This does suck. Maybe I don't need the quotes, so yeah, I don't think I do. Try and run that again. Maybe I need to invoke it. Let me look back at the other lesson. Okay, that's good. Okay, number 9, great. You passed a function from talker to button. Select button.js. Notice that the button renders a button element. If user clicks on this button, then you want your pass to talk function to get called. There's an event handler. Okay, add an onClick attribute to the render functions button. So it looks like we'll say onClick equals since you didn't prop talk, you can access this prop. OnClick equals this dot props dot talk. Looks like this should work. Let's make sure. Cool. To move on, let's talk about naming things. When you pass an event handler as a prop, as you just did, there are 2 names that you have to choose. Both naming choices occur in the parent component class, that is the component class that defines the event handler and passes it. Okay, so like what we just did, click events. In talker.js on line 6, change the event handler's name from talk to handle click. So we'll just change this to handle click. Let's run that. Come on, let's go. Man, their servers are like slow as heck today. It's frustrating. Alright, let me refresh again. It's taking forever. Open back up talker, handle click. Let's run this again. Let's see what we get. Should work. Cool. In talker's render function, change the prop's name from talk to onClick. So change this to, or sorry, not that. Change this to onClick. Change the prop's value to reflect the fact the event handler is now named handle talk. So we're wiring it up to this function now. Same one, but it's called handle click. Let's run that. Make sure this works for us. Cool. Select button.js, change button's render function so that it expects a prop name on click. Okay. That should work. See if this works for us. Awesome. And one major source of confusion is that the name of onClick has special meaning, but only when it's used on HTML-like elements. Look at button.js. When you give a button an attribute named onClick, then the name onClick has special meaning. As you learned, the special onClick attribute creates an event listener listening for clicks on the button. Now look at talker.js. Here, when you give a button an attribute named onClick, then the name onClick doesn't do anything special. The name onClick does not create an event listener when used on button. It's just an arbitrary attribute name. The reason for this is that button is not HTML like JSX element. It's a component instance. Okay, remember we're nesting that component inside of here. Names like onClick only create event listeners if they're used on HTML like JSX elements. Otherwise, they're just ordinary prop names. Okay, cool. 11. Every component's props object has a property named children. This .props.children will return anything, or will return everything in between a component's opening and closing JSX tags. So for all the components that you have seen, so far all of the components that you have seen have been self-closing tags, such as my component class. They don't have to be. You could write my component class and it would still work. this.props.children will return everything in between my component class and my component class. Look at bigbutton.js and example 1, big button. This.prop.children would equal the text I am a child of big button. In example 2, big buttons, this.props.children would equal to undefined. And example 3, big buttons, yeah, so undefined, little button, okay. So select app.js, notice the app renders 2 list instances, and that each list has at least one li child. Now open list.js and take a look at the list component class. Think about the fact that each list instance is going to be rendered with 2 JSX tags. There will be at least one li child in between those tags. Click run. Okay, let's click run. So that's good. You can see 2 list titles in the browser, but no list items. How can you make the list items appear in list.js? In the render function between the UL elements, add this.props.children. So now this will render everything in between that component. Let's run that. Okay, cool. That should work for us. It says each list instance is passed a singular title. Living musician and living cat musician, respectively. Somehow each list counts as list item and automatically adds an S to the front. Okay. Looks like as long as it's part of an array, it's just appending an S. So not too difficult, I don't think. Take a look at the button component class. Notice that on line 8, button expects to receive a prop named text. The received text will be displayed in a button element. What if nobody passes any text to button? If nobody passes any text to button, the button's display will be blank. It would be better if button could display a default message. Instead, you can make this happen by writing a function named getDefaultProps. For example, equals react.createClass, getDefaultProps function, render this.props.text, getDefaultProps function, return. Inside of the returned object, write properties for any default props that you'd like to set. Function, return, text is yo, okay. If an example doesn't pass any text, it will display yo. Okay, so click run. We'll set textless button. Let's see what we can get this to do. Inside of the object passed to React.create class before the render function, define a getDefaultProps function, and then we have to separate it with a comma, and then we'll just return this.props, or return, let's just say text is yo bro. I think was that the syntax? Or sorry, let me do if in objects is set text default value equal to I am a button. Okay. Guess we don't get any creativity. And then let's see if this works. Return. Let's see if that worked for us. Return this.props.text. Okay. In the react.render call, give button the following attribute text equals. So now if we set it to an empty string, it should show I am. Or no, I guess it'll be an empty string, so that's not really like undefined, that's just empty string. Okay, so that completes our lesson on props. Props is quite possibly the longest and most difficult lesson in all of our React courses. Congratulations on getting this far. Here are some of the skills that you have learned: passing a prop by giving an attribute to a component instance, accessing a passed-in prop, displaying a prop using a prop, finding an event handler, passing an event handler as a prop, receiving a prop, naming event handlers and event handler attributes according to the convention. This.props.children, and getDefaultProps. Thanks a lot. Soon you'll, okay. Up next, guys, will be this.state. So that's pretty cool. Let's go back and look. We're 90% of the way through. Looks like this dot state is our last lesson for this, and it says learn about the other way to store dynamic information in React, this dot state. So pretty cool, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys learned a lot. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, give me some feedback, give me a thumbs up if you liked it, and please subscribe like always. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, guys. Thanks.